the moment the little girl stumbled out of the diner, her cheeks streaked with tears and one eye swollen into a dark bruise, time seemed to pause. The rumble of motorcycles softened to a murmur. Sunlight flickered behind a drifting cloud, casting long shadows across the asphalt. Every biker in that lot instinctively turned, eyes locking on the trembling child. It was the kind of instant that stops your breath when destiny taps someone on the shoulder, right here, right now. And that someone was the club's captain, a grizzled man with streaks of grey in his hair and scars that whispered a lifetime of battles. Without a moment's thought, he knelt, letting her tiny hands clutch his arm as if holding on for life. Her voice, fragile yet urgent, trembled with a fear no child should ever carry. If you believe in courage, in standing up for those who can't defend themselves, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Helps us share more stories that truly touch the heart. The captain's tattooed hands moved with careful precision, steadying her like she might shatter at any second. Between sobs, she gasped out words, her dress crumpled from his grip. And behind her, the man who had terrified her, the one in the photo, stepped casually from the diner, wiping his mouth as if the chaos around him was nothing. The bikers, there just for a quiet lunch and ride, now faced a moment that changed everything, a scene heavy with tension and the unspoken question, what would happen next? The captain didn't ask a single question. He didn't have to. Her fear spoke louder than words the way she clung to his vest, pressed herself behind him, eyes darting toward the man with trembling shoulders. Her world was crumbling, and she'd found the one person who felt like safety in the storm. Inside the diner, people pretended nothing was happening. Some stared at their plates, heads bowed. Others stole nervous glances through the window. Her mother was nowhere in sight, and that absence tightened a knot in every biker's gut. The captain placed a firm hand on the asphalt, grounding himself, letting the tension roll off him but never leaving her alone. He'd seen fear before on battlefields, in deserted streets, in faces hardened by loss. But this fear, raw and helpless in a child's eyes, cut deeper than any knife. Finally, she found her voice, broken and trembling. She told him the man had dragged her mother into the diner's back hallway after an argument outside. People had watched. No one had intervened. When her mother didn't return, she had run, desperate for someone to help. She didn't know where else to go, only that she had to reach someone who could act. Her small voice trembled with a truth so heavy it shattered whatever calm lingered. She wasn't just afraid for herself, she was terrified for the woman who had always been her shield. The raw weight of her words hung in the air, demanding action, demanding courage. The captain's expression shifted slowly, like storm clouds rolling across open skies, dark and deliberate. Behind him, the rest of the bikers straightened, silent but alert, every muscle taut with readiness. They weren't perfect men, far from it. Most carried scars, regrets, and stories that would make anyone flinch. But they lived by a code louder than laws that turned blind eyes and colder than the strangers who had ignored the mother's cries. They protected those who couldn't protect themselves, children, mothers, anyone left alone. The man stepping out of the diner scoffed, muttering under his breath as if the world owed him silence. Fear and submission had always been his tools. But today, he met men who refused both. The bikers moved as one, not recklessly, not chaotically, but with the calm precision of men who had seen too much to waste a single second. The captain guided the little girl toward one of the bikers standing behind him. The big man knelt, offering a quiet nod, that said more than words ever could. You're safe. The club's medic stepped closer, eyes narrowing as he examined the swelling round her eye, jaw tight with concern. Without a word, the captain led the way into the diner, the others following in unspoken solidarity. Inside, they found the mother collapsed near the hallway, her face pale, eyes wide, shaken but alive. The tension of the room thick enough to taste. Her lip was bleeding, her cheek marked with the harsh imprint of a hand. She flinched as the door swung open, but relief washed over her when she saw the bikers instead of the man who had hurt her. They lifted her carefully, offered water, and made sure she could stand without fear. The captain knelt down so she didn't feel small or judged, listening closely as she told the story of what had happened. Shame trembled in her voice, as if the violence had been her fault, and that alone ignited a fire in every man in the room. No one had helped before. No one had stopped it, but now someone would. Outside, the confrontation lasted less than 5 minutes, yet it stretched like an eternity for the man who thought cruelty made him untouchable. 5 minutes of reckoning, long overdue, for a woman who had quietly endured too much. When the bikers were finished, they didn't gloat, threaten, or shout. They simply positioned themselves between the man and the family he had terrorized, making it clear his reign of fear ended that day. The mother and daughter were escorted to safety, offered food, water, and comfort. The little girl clung to the captain's vest until she finally felt her mother's arms around her again, and when she whispered thank you, so softly it could almost be missed. It was the kind of moment that reminded even hardened hearts why protecting the innocent matters. If this story touched you, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Help bring more real stories that move hearts. Before scrolling, comment below. Every child deserves safety. That day, the bikers rode off not as outlaws, not as men on roaring machines, but as heroes who stepped in when the world looked away. And sometimes, just 5 minutes of courage is enough to change a life forever.